Hello and welcome back to our playthrough of Escape Velocity Nova. We are doing the Rebel storyline, the success version. If you don't know what that means, go back and watch the last episode. In essence, it means that we have successfully opened diplomatic relations with the Polaris, and now we are carrying out our missions for Rebellion Intel. We were told to meet our superior, GF Daniels, in the bar here on Rebel 2. As you sit quietly sipping your drink, you hear a surge in the conversation at the door as a number of rebels greet one of their superiors. You ignore it until you catch a glimpse of the man they are greeting. You recognize him as General Smart, who makes his way over to you. "Sorry to interrupt your relaxation," he says by way of greeting, but GF Daniels is off somewhere doing whatever spooks do when they disappear. He left a message in my hands to pass on. When I heard you had stopped by, I dropped everything to come down here to get it to you. Are you interested in learning more about the mercenary organization that calls itself the Wild Geese? You raise your eyebrows at hearing General Smart mentioning your old comrades in arms, so that's some unique dialogue, being a Knight of the Red Branch. And of course, they use the term spook as in spy, secret agent, black ops. They're a mercenary outfit operating out of New Ireland in the Tautha system, he explains. They're the main reason why the Federation has allowed New Ireland to remain independent, even though it is completely surrounded. Not that the Federation is above using them to shore up their defenses. They are currently being employed to man Space Dock 6. He stops, looking a little annoyed as you start smiling. "Something amusing?" he asks after a moment, and you explain some of your history with the Wild Geese. "Oh," he grins, looking a little sheepish. "You won't have to hear the rest of the info on them then." "Well then," he concludes, smiling, "I want you to go down to New Ireland in the Tautha system to talk to Eamon Flanagan to find out what he wants in return for the aid of his forces in the coming troubles." Alright, cool. I always love dialogue I have not seen before. What's interesting is actually if you do the Wild Geese storyline and you don't get the Knight of the Red Branch ending, you are given the option of pursuing either the Rebel or Auroran storylines, but the option to pursue the Rebel one is actually a fake out. You can't get to the Rebel one from the Wild Geese, at least not like that. It instead takes you to do the Pirate campaign. So the only way to actually do the Rebel campaign after the Wild Geese campaign is to get the Knight of the Red Branch and then stumble your way into the Rebel campaign, which is exactly what we've done. And you get to see this really cool, unique dialogue, which I find exciting. You're greeted by a smiling Flanagan. After several moments of catching up, you explain to him the situation in detail while he listens carefully. "Razek's involved, eh?" he says thoughtfully. "For that piece of information, you can tell your superiors that I'll do it for free. It probably won't take you long, as I believe that you know that man over there already." He points out GF Daniels, sitting nearby, who comes over smiling. "I think we found out what we needed to," he says, grinning at your confused expression. "Let's get out of here before he changes his mind." Okay, a very succinct conversation. It kind of makes you wonder why they bothered to have me come down when GF Daniels was already doing it. Oh, it's Andrew Welsh, El Presidente of Ambrosia Software. Ambrosia Software are the publishers of VV Nova, sadly now defunct. "Get out of my way or I'll blast you to pieces," or blazes. Yeah, in a Starliner, I don't think you're going to have much luck doing that, unless it's a really tricked out Starliner. So some of their ships you can actually disable and board and capture, but causes problems later on. Because there's a system you end up going to, populated entirely by the ATMOS and Ambrosia people, and if you ticked them off earlier, they don't forget it. They can be quite a nasty surprise, especially given that some of them are invincible. Now that would be a mod I would not mind, or a plugin I would not mind installing, because really having invincible enemies is just not fun. Alright, successful negotiations. On the way back, GF tries to tell you some of Flanagan's history, but you laugh at him, telling him that he's an old friend of yours, and you probably know more about him than he does. "Oh yes," he murmurs quietly, "I had forgotten that you'd been knighted by them." He explains away his presence by saying that he knew you were going to be turning up sometime, so he got dropped off there and just waited. Well, there we go. In the meantime, I had several chats with Mr. Flanagan. He smiles, reminiscing. He is a very astute man. Very few people in the universe are anywhere near as well informed about the events that go on throughout the galaxy. He does have a weakness about Razek, though. It goes back to an incident several years ago between the two of them, where Razek refused to admit that he had been saved by Flanagan and his men. Apparently, that annoyed the hell out of the Wild Geese leader, and they've basically been at each other's throats ever since. I don't know how Razek does it, he continues, shaking his head in disbelief. If I had irritated a man as capable as even Flanagan, I'd be going out of my way to make it up to him somehow. Good work out there. Geoff praises warmly as he snaps out of his reverie. Keep stopping by the bar. It shouldn't be too long before I have something else for you. So, very interesting. There you are, exclaims Geoff with a grin as he gets a drink from the barmaid. I was hoping you would drop by. The two of you walk over to his regular table. We want to make the coming invasion as difficult for the Federation as possible, he says neutrally after the both of you sit down. So we want to find out how prepared the Aurorans are. If they are pretty well prepared, we'll concentrate our efforts into other things. If not, we'll have to give them a hand. That's where you come in. We want you to go scout out the Aurora system and see what's going on, he explains. We don't want you to land. The Aurorans have some tricky custom regulations that usually involve killing and maiming. If I were you, I would avoid that. If you just find the system Aurora and have a look around, that would be ideal. Interested? Sure. Okay, Geoff continues, a little background so you know what you're getting yourself in for. Firstly, he begins earnestly, the Aurora system is several jumps south of the Tekel system. The Empire itself is more like a loose confederacy of 5 major houses, he explains, than a true empire. It is ruled over by a ruling council made up of 3 representatives from each house, and the Emperor, who comes from the first house, and he or she has the only veto vote. The first family changes from time to time, he continues dryly, and the current first house is the Moash house, who have demonstrated that they are capable of underhanded dealings. However, he says grinning, just because Moash is the first house doesn't mean they are immune from attacks by the other houses. In fact, far from it. The Moash house is probably attacked more often than any other house. In fact, such violent acts are an integral part of Auroran politics. He sits back, still smiling. Doesn't it all sound like fun? It's certainly a different way of doing politics, and yeah, it's fun. It's a great campaign, the Auroran campaign. Ooh, so we got a pirate. Ooh, looks like we had a pirate. Alright, so the Aurora system, we already know where that is. I have to wonder if there is some dialogue unique if you already did the United Shipping Courier stuff. 2 Auroran vessels with Federation IFF detected. Interesting. Now, do I want to blow them up? Of course I do. Of course. Oh, elementary, my dear Watson. Oh, that glorious Auroran hull. I'm envious. Oh look, it actually has the Fed designation. So I guess that is enough proof. The Aurorans are having some underhanded dealings with the Federation. I guess it makes sense because they have the IFF decoders, and if they're Federation IFF decoders, it makes sense they'd be marked as Federation. Huh. I act surprised, but I have done this before, so... just one of those things. So, what did you find? Asks Geoff after you step out of your ship. You relay the events of your trip, and he raises his eyebrows. You mention the presence of 2 vessels with Federation identifications in the Aurora system. Are you sure? He asks, surprised. You nod. Can you tell me their designations? You reply that the techies can probably do better than that once they analyze the data from the holoscanner you took with you. True. He agrees with a sheepish grin. The incident has sparked my interest. I think this will be very interesting to find out what is going on down there. It is not at all like Aurorans to impersonate the Federation. Anyway, he continues brusquely, stay close to the bar. I get the feeling I'll need your expertise again very soon. Just go immediately there. You look over to see Geoff sitting in his usual seat. He signals you over with a tired wave of his hand. I need to send you another long journey, I'm afraid, he says tiredly, rubbing his eyes. We didn't get anything conclusive from the holoscanner, except that the ships with Federation designations were real Federation ships. Obviously, there is something going on here that we need to know about. So I want you to go to Moash and the Moash system in the hopes that you will find something more useful there. You won't be needing the holoscanner, as we've discovered that the Aurorans don't use holo transmissions very much at all. I hate to ask this of you, he continues apologetically, but are you willing to do it? Yeah. I want you to know that I really appreciate this, he says sincerely. Now I need to tell you a few things to help you survive this mission. First, he explains seriously, the Auroran warriors have a custom of challenging newcomers to their worlds to a duel. Don't try to engage them in hand-to-hand combat. They train for years in those disciplines. If they attack you, shoot them, and shoot to kill. Maiming is bad form and will cause others to join the fight. A clean death is much more honorable. Again, very Klingon. Secondly, he continues tiredly, don't get into a verbal joust with them. They respect doers of deeds and dislike speakers of rubbish. Other than that, he includes running his hand through his hair. Just keep your eyes open. They have a habit of jumping on you from unexpected angles. Good luck down there. Well, it sounds like Geoff does not particularly like the Aurorans. Thankfully, all the Auroran major houses have hypergates in their home systems, so we just have to... Oh, that was a close one. As I was saying, we just have to jump in, but it seems like the Federation is waiting for us. So, we're going to do the classic strategy of running away. Sorry, tactically retreating. And we're going to try to loop around in such a way that we can land on Moash without having to deal with the absurd amount of ships. That is one of the issues with using the hypergates as your primary means of transportation, is they're usually close to the system center, and if there are ships waiting for you, they usually wait in the system center. So, just one of the many hazards of being a blockade runner, I guess. But I have practiced that art. You land wondering what so many Federation ships are doing in this system. You cease wondering when you see the 10 savagely tattooed warriors arrayed outside your ship, wielding various brutal-looking blade weapons. You waste no time drawing your blaster and begin calmly shooting them dead one by one as they charge. From 10 meters away, the last one falls at your feet with a smoking hole where his left eye used to be. The warriors looking on grin and salute your shooting prowess and bravery in standing against the charge. You shake your head and start looking around for clues as to what's going on. It's not long before you run into a group of what appears to be Bureau negotiators talking to a Moash warrior. Listening, you overhear detailed information concerning the Bureau plan, wherein Rossic's men are going to be destroyed in a PR exercise to start a war involving both the Federation and the Auroran Empire. You decide it's time to get back to Rebel 2 to pass this on to Geoff. Well, how interesting. If we were doing the Velos campaign... Okay, get out of there. I missed the afterburner key. The afterburner key, for those who are interested, is Z. Do not press X expecting it to be Z. You will not be happy. But, yeah, the player will be delivering that particular message in other campaigns. Where can I go? Let's go to Moash Neck. Hope that I can get away before they disable me. Yep. And now it's just a matter of outmaneuvering them and waiting for our energy to recharge. But it is exciting. It's part of the fun. Sometimes the game is too easy and we can't have that. So one thing I might invest in is a reactor, because solar panels do okay at creating energy when you're marooned in a system, but reactors are faster, and the fission reactor only takes up 10 tons of space, which is 1 ton more than 3 solar panels. I don't know if it is as efficient as 3.33 solar panels, but certainly less to manage. What have we got here? Do I want to engage them in glorious combat? Probably. They don't seem to want to engage me. Too much good sense, I guess. And yes, I could disable them and take their fuel, which I might try to do with this last one, but it is sometimes difficult to do when other ships are on your 6. Sadly, the Wraithai are not exactly a precision tool, so as you saw there, it's sometimes difficult to avoid just destroying your quarry. Let's just go into the next system. Maybe there's something more interesting there. We are almost in Heron space, at which point life will become a lot easier, because we can actually land on the planets and refuel. But, yeah. This is kind of how things go in the Auroran Empire. And I think it's pretty fun, actually, that you have these 5 different factions contained in one larger faction. At least it makes things a little more varied. Ooh. Pirate fleet in addition to a Moash. Looks like I have to do another horseshoe around because I don't like the odds of fighting all of them. Actually, that's just class 2 Valkyrie. We can probably beat him. I'm on a pretty good streak of not dying yet in this campaign, so it'd be a shame to break that now. But we seem to have done okay. So let's take out this Moash abomination. Pathetic. It's almost like the Aurorans don't have advanced technology like Polaris Wraithai. Fancy that. Alright. Now have a full tank of gas, as it were. We can get up to the Hypergate in Heron and make our way back to Rebel 2. All good things, all good things. I tell you, the Hypergate make this game so much faster. Which is a blessing and a curse. If you want to just relax and enjoy yourself, don't bother getting them. If you want to give your viewers a nice succinct view of the campaigns, it's a must. Geoff greets you grimly as you step off your ship. You find anything? He asks hopefully. You nod and give a rundown of what you discovered. He looks at you for a long moment with narrowed eyes, digesting the information you just gave him. Oh my god, he exclaims in horror, his eyes widening suddenly. They're going to sacrifice Rozek's entire force in order to start a war that the Federation will win. You look confused and ask how the Federation could defeat the Aurorans in battle. Conventional military wisdom states that the Federation simply does not have the resources to pacify something the size of the Auroran Empire. Come with me and I will show you how, he replies cryptically. Geoff takes you into an office with a single terminal on a desk. He quickly calls up a display of information from an analysis from a holoscanner. This is the analysis of the recent data gained from the holoscanner on New England. He explains in a no-nonsense professional manner. They show that the Bureau has been organizing Federation forces into 2 enormous fleets. They've been passing on intelligence regarding Auroran major thrusts into Federation space. From reports coming from the front, he continues briskly, these Auroran strikes have actually been made up of countless ships from 4 of the 5 major houses, but not one Moash ship has been sent against them. I'm willing to bet that the Bureau is going to send Rozek's men into a waiting trap where he'll be annihilated within Federation space, he states forcefully. They will then inflame public opinion and send the troops off to war against the 4 houses that will be severely depleted, and the first family won't lift a finger to help them. Meet me in the bar, Geoff says, suddenly impassive. I'm going to have another mission for you within the hour. Alright, so there's some Royalpolitik going on. Geoff walks in briskly and spots you almost immediately. There you are, Ory'Hara, he greets you brusquely. It looks like the Bureau is going to cut off Rozek's forces using the entire Moash fleet, plus most of the Bureau's forces. If we can draw Rozek into Auroran space and keep him there, we will have a chance of salvaging the situation. I need you to go on a long runabout mission, he continues diffidently. You'll be heading from here to New Ireland in the Tautha system, then you will go to Heron in the Heron system, before going to Rimmerta in the Pimmin system. We need to get a message to the people at those places urgently, as we are just about out of time to try to turn this Federation invasion into not only a real defeat, but also a public relations coup against the Bureau. Are you interested? Of course we are. Excellent, he exclaims happily. We need to alert these people so they can prepare for the coming events. The wild geese have been ready to jump in and save Rozek's backside, otherwise a war will be started. We need to warn the Heron House, as they, being the hated enemy of the Moash House, are most likely to bear the brunt of the first invasion force. They are also the most reasonable of the major houses, so they might actually listen. If you can get Flanagan aside with that part of the mission, it'll make things a lot easier. If not, you'll have to do it on your own. Finally, he continues quickly, I want you to warn the Rimmerton warriors, as they are the only group of warriors that are trusted implicitly by Auroran courts. Their testimony is as law. And if we can get them to witness Moash complicity in this matter, then the whole Auroran Empire will be thrown into turmoil. When you are finished, return here, he finishes simply. Any questions? No? And good luck, my friend. Alright, so this actually won't be all that hard at all. Is it a pirate one, or... Ooh, it's a upgraded rebellion. Thunderhead, that's the word I'm looking for. I do find it amusing that it seems like whenever they refer to Tautha, it's always New Ireland in the Tautha system. It's never just go to New Ireland. It's New Ireland in the Tautha system. It's always the entire thing. It's a tribe called Quest. You say the entire thing every time. Anyway. Greetings, Ory'Hara, calls a savagely tattooed Eamon Flanagan as you open your hatch. What brings you to my humble abode? You outline what you know and what your mission is as quickly as you can. He asks a number of questions regarding the veracity of the intelligence gained, which you answer as concisely as possible. After a few minutes, he seems satisfied, if slightly stunned. I was aware the Bureau were working with the Moash House on something, he mutters quietly, but I wasn't sure it was anything this big. He turns back to you. And what are you planning to do now, Ory'Hara? He asks intently. You reply that you're going to travel to Heron and Rimmerta to talk with the warriors there regarding the coming events. I can see your plan, he nods approvingly, and it's a good one. I may be of some assistance. As you already know, he explains thoughtfully, I'm a warrior of the Heron House. If I were to travel with you, you would not have to deal with young warriors challenging you just to be allowed to step foot on their planet. They'd also be more likely to listen to what you have to say if I was there to back you. You nod, saying you're more than happy to have him along to help out in any way, especially if it would speed things up. You ask if he has any advice about dealing with the Rimmertons. They call themselves Dektikars, he answers almost reverently, which translates roughly as, we who sacrifice ourselves for the highest cause. They are loyal to the first family, but their honor is beyond question, and yes, I can help you with them. As a fellow Auroran warrior of many battles who has fought alongside them on many occasions, my word carries some weight. I need a couple of hours to organize the geese, he decides finally. Meet me in the bar and I will journey with you. Alright, can always count on good old Eamon Flanagan. You see Eamon Flanagan enter the bar, just about filling the doorway with his muscular frame. You down the rest of your drink in a single swallow before getting up and heading back to your ship with him. On the way, he tells you that he will do most of the talking when they first land, and will continue to do the talking until he's introduced you to the house elders. Once that has been taken care of, the elders will then listen to whatever you have to say, not only with the weight they would give words spoken by Flanagan, but also with the added weight of respect they have for you. And don't think the last point is negligible, even wags his finger. I've been following your career as close as I can with the resources that I have, and I have mentioned you more than once to them. They know, as I do, that you're perhaps the most widely traveled person in the galaxy, and one of the most skilled pilots around. Well, thank you, Eamon. Of course, he continues, you aren't an Auroran warrior, which is a count against you. But the Heron leaders are more open-minded than most, and they realize the most Auroran warriors couldn't even hope to have done half the things you have. The real test will be when we see the Rimmertons, he muses thoughtfully as you reach your ship. They like to keep themselves above what they think of as the petty squabbles between the houses. If they think you are here representing the Heron House, they won't even see you. I must admit that having me alongside won't help you much with that. Unfortunately, he muses sardonically, unless you are a warrior, or have been introduced by a warrior, they would probably ignore you anyway. To them, their lot is to fight and die with absolute honor. In many ways, they are the essence of being an Auroran warrior, but dealing with them can be tricky. Well, it looks like we have our work cut out for us. I have to wonder if he hypes you up as much if you are not already a Knight of the Red Branch, but it's been a long time since I ran the entire Rebel campaign. Although that being said, I did have it recorded before I did the Polaris campaign, but the quality was not where I wanted it to be. That was before I learned some of the tricks with recording. I really dislike how Moash space is set up. It is highly inconvenient. But we should be able to get out of here no problem. I say, you know, one of the famous last words, like, let's split up, or what, dragon? I'm gonna be one jump short of making it into Heron space. To a Lawluff. That's an interesting name for a system. But thankfully we're not being pursued this time, so we can just kick back and relax. Whatever amounts to relaxation in Auroran space, after all. Alright. Thankfully there are no time limits on this mission, so you don't have to worry about taking a circuitous route. Although I think we made pretty decent time considering we've accessed the Hypergate system. Eamon steps out first and he greets the awaiting warriors in a friendly manner. They quickly realize that you are under his protection. They put their weapons away and ignore you. Eamon leads you up a long staircase. After climbing 20 floors, it opens up to the top floor of the arcology. Seated in leather seats surrounding a large circular table are about 20 elderly warriors with many faded tattoos. Eamon Flanagan walks to a space in their table, formally introduces you and informs them that you wish to speak with them. The oldest warrior at the table inclines his head and indicates that you should begin. You explain the events of the recent months and explain what the Bureau is planning to do in concord with the Moash house. Many of these hard old men narrow their eyes when you tell them of the actions of their rival house. So you want us to allow Federation scum into our space to protect them from this Bureau? Asks one of the elders after you finish. Why should we do that? You explain that if they do not, then the Heron house will all likelihood be destroyed. If they do decide to go along with the plan, they will have extra ships to bolster their defense in the coming battles. The elder warrior turns to Eamon asking, "Don't you have a blood oath against Razak?" To which Eamon nods. Then how can you fight beside him? By imagining his reaction when he realizes I have been the one who rescued him a second time, he replies, receiving approving chuckles from around the table. The eldest warrior nods slowly and turns back to you. We will do this thing you ask, he decides with finality, for I cannot stand to let any house bring about the ruin of everything we have fought and died for. Ory'Hara, I believe that many songs will be sung about the coming days, and I'll make sure that you are mentioned. He then dismisses you with a wave of his hand. Eamon quickly moves to your side. I want to see a few people, he says quietly. Meet me in the bar in an hour. Let's see if there's anything good here. Not really. Storm chain gun is not what we want. Can we get the fission reactor? No, none of those there. Alright. You did well in there, says Eamon as he arrives just over an hour later. You were concise and to the point, and also didn't try to gloss over the difficulties. You have gained their respect and their thanks for your message. That little speech you made about making sure your name is in any song isn't an idle statement. It is probably the highest compliment one warrior will pay to another. You raise your eyebrows in surprise. So what is your real name anyway? He asks with a sardonic grin. You realize you will have to let me tell someone, otherwise only your code name will be immortalized in song. You have to laugh at his attempt at humor. You know the man alongside you is one of the few people in the galaxy who is aware of your real name. So if you had not been Knight of the Red Branch, even he wouldn't know. The more time I spend with you, Eamon chuckles, the more I like you. I have never met anyone who can say so much by saying so little. I wish I had your gift with words sometimes. You snort derisively as you set about preparing your ship for takeoff. He laughs. I can see why Frandl used you on me, he comments laughing. You and he come from a similar mold. But then it's not surprising you take after him. After all, he is your supervisor. You manage to stop the surprise you feel from reaching your face. Frandl, your supervisor? The more you think about it, the more it makes sense. Nobody has ever seen Frandl. Nobody knows his name, and yet Geoff/Frandl seems to have an ability to set his own missions for his own objectives. He can also disappear at any time to take care of things, and has the pulling power to get General Smart to pass on messages for him. You vow to have a few words with your supervisor when you report back in. So it's all coming together. Things are a little bit more mysterious than they seem at first blush. Even within the rebellion. We'll see a little bit more of that in a bit. Nothing going on there. Just keep flying. We can't stop here. This is a warrant country. This Firebird country. You let Eamon off first again to deal with the waiting warriors. With no small show of disappointment, they sheath their weapons and let you past. Once again, Eamon leads you up a staircase to the upper level of the arcology, to a room where 10 elderly warriors sit in council. He walks over and introduces you formally, indicating that you wish to speak with them. The ancient warrior at the head of the table tells you kindly that you may begin. You begin telling of the events that have led up to you standing before them, leaving out the names of all the Auroran houses involved so not as to prejudice them in any way. You explain what you believe is going to happen, and you ask them to keep their eyes open, to watch for any cowardly action undertaken by any house. Why do you wish to involve us in this manner? Asked one of the warriors. How will that help you in your cause to fight against this Bureau? You reply saying the rebels are worried that Auroran counterattacks, however justified they may be, will further muddy an already messy situation. You also explain that because an Auroran house is involved, a civil war might result, and you do not want to give the Bureau any chance to expand their influences further. Your leaders want to cause as much damage to the Bureau as possible. So all you want from us is that we be present in and around Heron space in the next few weeks? Asks the ancient warrior heading the table, and you nod in confirmation. He closes his eyes in thought for a moment before reaching a decision. We will do what you ask, he announces quietly. You are not dragging us into a squabble between houses, as I initially feared. We thank you for your information. With it, we may stop our enemies from destroying the Empire. We are in your debt. He dismisses you with a wave of his hand. Eamon gives you a thumbs up as you leave and informs you they will meet you in the bar in an hour. Eamon, you drink too much. You see Eamon enter within 30 seconds of the hour he specified. You wave to attract his attention, and he comes over. I have to go and see some of my battle brothers, he explains. Men who I hold closer to my heart than any family in this universe. I could have not passed up the opportunity to drop in, as I do not get to meet them very often. You nod understandingly, saying that you would have done the same. Well, it seems as though everything is ready, he says with a smile. The Bureau will fall into our trap, eh? You smile thinly, saying that you hope so. Why so glum, he asks cheerfully. You've done all you can. Nothing more can be expected of you. Why do you look so down? You reply that the events that are coming are too enormous to predict outcomes for. You add that you do not like what you see if anything goes wrong. You underestimate the abilities of the people you are working with, he says quietly. Now that we are forewarned and forearmed, the Federation and the Bureau will be hard-pressed to salvage a bloody draw out of the coming battles. Wait and see. You down your drink in one long swallow before standing up, indicating you are ready to go. Yes, rumbles Eamon with a small smile. It is time to head home to ready ourselves for war. I need to return to New Ireland, and you need to return to whatever rebel base to report in, I would imagine. Two of you make your way back to your beloved Melissa's Bane, where he helps you go through your pre-flight routine. Alright, and I think that's an excellent place to call it an episode, so thank you very much for joining me. I hope you are enjoying all of the politics and planning that is going in to the coming events when this all comes to a head. But that'll have to wait till next episode. If you liked something particular in this one, leave it in the comments down below, and until next time, no matter what you do, I hope that you have a good one.